Hey, everybody. Welcome to Learning to Escape, where we go a bit beyond E-SCAPES. Our guest today is a friend of mine for many years named Kenny, and he's always got amazing stories. And I just want him to come on today to tell just a few of them. And hope you enjoy it. And thanks for joining. And don't forget to subscribe and thumbs up if you like it. If you don't, who cares? All right. Hey, Kenny, how are you, my friend?
Doing all right so far. Ain't dead yet.
Uh, that's positive. That's a positive. So, for all the people out there that don't know you, can you give us a little background? Just like, where are you from? What were some of the first things that you encountered in life?
Well, I was born in Los Angeles County General Hospital, California, Burbank, and 1950. I was born a poor white boy. My dad was going to school, and was his profession on my birth certificate said he was a newspaper boy. And we lived in Hollywood for the first 6 months of my life, so naturally I don't remember that. But my young years were spent in Paris, California, which is kind of out in the high desert. And then I lived up by Vandenberg Air Force Base for a couple of years, and that's probably where my adventurous nature took a turn.
Yeah,
And
about what age was that?
well, when we moved up there, I was 9 years old. And I had a brother who's 3 years younger than me. But my dad, by then, he'd gotten a job. He was a school teacher in Paris. He graduated from college.
In Paris, like Paris, France?
California.
Okay. Just making
March,
sure.
March Air Force Base, which was when Eisenhower was in charge, that was the Strategic Air Command base. Not too far from Palm Springs, but lots of decomposing granite and sand. So my dad went from being a school teacher in Paris to up in Lompoc. He worked at the Vandenberg Air Force Base junior high school as the vice principal. That lasted about 2 years, and then he was principal of an elementary school, which at that time I would have been, I think, 11 years old. At the
So you weren't in
beginning,
the school that he was principal of.
oh, he was the principal of the school I went to. I
Oh,
got,
wow.
I got to visit him many times. The fifth grade teacher we had was a young single gal, and she got pregnant, and the school district kind of frowned upon that. So we were oh so lucky because they couldn't find a teacher, or they didn't have the money in the budget, something, where they couldn't replace her real quick. So my dad became our teacher, and our school room was a meeting room next to the principal's office. So, yeah, that was an adventure. But then I went
Sure.
off to junior high school, but I was interested in music at a young age. My dad really thought it was important to be exposed to that, so I kind of grew up with the jazz influence, big band, swing. He had a big record collection of 78s and, old record player. We'd listen to that stuff, and he'd tell me all about these guys, Glenn Miller, Tommy Dorsey, Jimmy Dorsey, all them big band guys. So I started playing trumpet when I was 7 years old, and ended up, we moved to Lompoc, they needed a trombone player, so I ended up playing trombone. And then we got the marching band and all that groovy kind of stuff. Of course, I wanted to play football and wasn't really into the marching, but I enjoyed music, so you know.
I get it. It's like you like what you're doing, but you see what you'd rather be doing more.
Right.
Yeah, because I played actually trumpet and trombone, so that's funny.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, and
So
then
anyway,
snare drum was my last.
I had a few, I guess it would be emotional issues when I was 10, 11 years old. Ran away from home once. Me and a guy that lived across the street took his parents' car and took off one time, and we were gone for about 3 days before the cops wondered why these two obviously not 16-year-old kids were driving around. So I think we got put on probation or something. My mom didn't like where we were living in Lompoc because it was only a few miles from the ocean. The wind blew all the time. The beach wasn't a beach that you would go to and enjoy. It had really bad riptides. And seems like the Marines used it as a training area, and they'd make them guys go out there waist deep in the ocean, and some of them would end up drowning from,
Man,
yeah, the undertow was really bad. You didn't, not a place to go swimming or surfing or anything. Although I've heard now that they must have done something there because there's people surfing there now. But yeah, we moved from Lompoc in 1963, maybe 62, 63, eighth grade. Yeah, it was 63. And it was Southern California, same county as Paris is in, Riverside County. So it wasn't too far from Paris, but it was closer to the ocean. Only took about, well, back then, it only took about half an hour to drive to the beach. It was like Newport Beach, San Clemente. San Clemente was about 45-minute drive, but Huntington Beach was about a 35-minute drive. So all those beaches in there weren't far from where we lived. Lots of surfers.
yeah, I was gonna say it's all the beaches I heard of when I was in Oklahoma for skaters and surfers. Like, oh, we got to go to Huntington Beach. I go to all these places.
Yeah. Yeah, my first skateboard was one of them old steel skates you use a key for to tighten up on your shoes, you know. I don't know if you know what those are, but uh, you can
Seen
take them
pictures.
apart, separate the front and back wheels, and we'd take a 2x4 and some nails and nail those skates to the front and back of the 2x4. And that was my first skateboard.
Awesome. There you go.
Didn't work very well. Broke my arm,
Not
but
something Marty McFly would have done, but
oh man, you try to turn. We figured out that if you loosened up the, what do they call that joint there in the middle?
were they trucks?
Yeah. If you loosened it up real loose, you could turn better. But with those, the wheels were steel. So traction
Wow.
was kind of non existent. So you go to make a right hand turn or a left hand turn and spin out, you know.
And probably spark
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Shit, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a couple of years later they came out with, remember the first skateboard I bought was shaped like a surfboard. And people, all the surfers would, that isn't the way you ride that thing. You're supposed to
Like,
have
was it
your
a
left.
longboard or was it like a short, like a
No, it
Nash or
was,
something?
it wasn't very long, 2 feet long,
Oh, okay,
maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. It was smaller than the ones that the kids generally use today and a lot
Right.
narrower.
I remember
But
Nash, I think, was one of
it
the
had
first
the
that came out with those.
rubber wheels on it, good trucks, and very controllable. But playing in the marching band there, we had to go to all these competitions all around LA to San Diego. And it really got boring. Fortunate it was during the spring, most of them were, and it didn't interfere with playing football because that's what I wanted to do, was play sports. But I did, I enjoyed music enough that I stayed with it, did what I was supposed to do and all that kind of stuff. And I was walking home from football practice one time, and this guy that lived about a block farther down the road from where I lived, we're talking, and I was new. I just moved there to Corona, so I didn't hardly know anybody. And he goes, "Hey, you play guitar?" And I go, "No, I play trombone in the band." And he goes, "Well, you want to learn?" And I said, "Hell yeah, man." And he says, "Well, let's go to my house. I'll show you some stuff." So he had an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. And he knew some lead to some surf songs, and he showed me the bass line to play on the acoustic guitar. And that was my entry into rock and roll, with surf music.
Right on.
But, the Beatles hit, and, it took all kinds of turns. But that's really where I got bit by the bug to be in a band.
Now,
And
at that time, who was like your main influences that you were listening to or wanted to play music like?
at
Like at that
first,
moment? Yeah, like at that point in time when you're like, I
well,
want to be a musician,
Dick
something
Dale
other than
was
trombone.
Dick Dale was from the town next to Corona, called Norco, which was North Corona. So everybody wanted to play like Dick Dale,
Of course.
king of the surf guitar. So we all knew all them songs, but they were instrumentals, very little singing. And that's when we try to, start singing. Well, what's a PA? You just plug the mic in with the guitar. But worked, kind of. And, after a couple of years of that, the guy that taught me asked me if I played guitar one day. He was our lead guitar player, and he just quit one day, said he didn't want to play no more. And we weren't nowhere near as good as him, but it had drums and a guy that played rhythm guitar and me playing bass. And the drummer met some guy that him and his friend had just, the band they were in broke up. And so we decided to meet and jam and see what we could do. And at that time, my dad was principal of an elementary school. And so we didn't get in trouble with the neighbors and stuff. He let us practice there at the school in the lunchroom.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had key
I
to
bet
get
the
in.
acoustics were great too.
Oh, echo chamber.
Yeah.
It was great for surf music.
No matter what you sing, you sound good.
It was great for surf music.
Right.
Don't
Exactly.
need no reverb. But those two guys, they both played guitar and bass, and they knew all these Beach Boys songs and Birds songs. And one guy had a Rickenbacker 12 string, and the other guy had a Silvertone guitar and Fender Precision bass. But they both switched off playing bass and guitar, and as it turned, they were older than us. And the guy that had the Rickenbacker 12 string was the bass player in the jazz band at the high school, stand-up bass. That guy went on to be a music teacher, and to this day is probably the best friend I've got from that era. And we talk at least every week, if not a couple times a week.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we got back together in, I think that was about 2009 maybe. It was two of the guys was from a band that were kind of our rivals, but friendly.
Yeah.
The bands, and when we were in junior high and high school, our band had harmony and sang, tried to do Beach Boys and Birds stuff, along with
Right.
Beatles, and still played some surf music, and
And
it
that time was when? Like
that
19 what?
was 65,
65, and then
66,
coming back to
67,
2009.
65, 66, 67. And we really covered mostly Birds songs. Of course, the Rickenbacker 12 string.
Of
I
course.
ended up, the guy with the precision bass ended up being the bass player. I bought a Gretsch Country Gentleman and I played rhythm guitar, except on the stuff where you use distortion or six string guitar was needed for the lead part as opposed to a 12 string. And so I dabbled playing lead, but most of the stuff Steve played lead on. And it was a great band while it lasted, and guys started going to college, and Vietnam was happening. Guys were getting drafted. And of course, you know, the bands dissolved and we all went our different ways. And I signed up for the draft, but I wasn't eligible to be drafted unless it was a declared war, as I had managed to be a little irresponsible in my youth. And
No.
my girlfriend and I got pregnant between our junior and senior year in high school, which is
Yeah.
a whole nother
How
adventure.
much did you gain?
Well, the worst part was the morning sickness.
I hear you. I
Waking
hear
up
you.
and
But the labor, you left
realizing
that up to her.
waking up and realizing that I was married at 17 years and 2 weeks old. What the hell did I do? But be that as it may, you know, life's an adventure. I have a couple beautiful kids and lots of grandkids. Pretty cool. I
Yep.
was the
What
asshole.
might seem a mistake at the moment can be a blessing in the end.
It, well, you know, I have two sets of kids by two different wives, and they have both passed away uh, years ago. And so the guy that wasn't around when they were growing up is the one left, which feels awkward at times, but they, it's amazing relationship I have with them. Totally cool.
What would you say is the thing that made it to where you were able to keep that relationship? Like in one word, what would you say it was? Because I don't want to,
Honesty,
sidetrack your story. What would you say?
honesty, honesty.
Yeah. Bingo. I was thinking honesty and humility, which is pretty much kind of the same thing. All right, carry on, brother.
So I had an opportunity when the bands were getting a little wacky. Ended up the last band I had with the guys from the early days. I was 18 or almost 18, and like I said, guys were getting drafted, and they were older than me. I was the youngest guy in the band, so it got down to the drummer and the bass player and a singer and another guitar player, and we were doing the Who and um, Iron Butterfly, and we had a chick that was a folk singer, but we did some Jefferson Airplane, and she could wail, and that was, we knew that wasn't going to last because I think the drummer was the first one of them that got drafted, and the bass player decided he was going to get a college deferment, so he went off to college. I got an invitation from another drummer that he was the same age as me, but he played with this guy that was just an amazing guitar player. he would show up at our practices if he knew where the different bands were playing. We'd always hang out with each other when we'd be practicing. Just the music scene, you know.
Yeah,
It
it's like a
wasn't
community.
well, yeah, it wasn't competitive necessarily. Although I'm sure we all talked behind each other's backs a lot.
Yeah, of course, of course. But still, it was a community. It was like a club, almost a gang, almost, but a gang for the right reasons. It's like,
Exactly.
hey, we're in this together. Yeah, we might compete for a night at a place, but still, we're in this together, which I
I
think is a
did it.
great thing that just kind of faded off in time.
So anyway, this drummer got in touch with me and he said, asked me if I wanted to audition to play rhythm guitar for this guy that was, he gigged all the time. He was a barber and he was into taking speed pills, Bennies, those little white tablets that used to be so popular back then. 10 for a buck.
Like kind of like the White Cross things, or
Yeah, but that was the elite. The White Crosses were.
gotcha.
This was,
So it's like the crank versus meth.
like the F-150 XL compared to the F-150 Lariat or Rancher.
Got
But
it.
anyway, he was
Thanks for the layman term.
he'd go to Las Vegas, take his tuxedo and go to Las Vegas and make a couple $1,000 over the weekend playing at different clubs. Just saying, here I am. You want me to play tonight? Because he knew it was the scene there in Vegas, in all these bars. The bands that are just there playing in the background. They aren't any big time thing.
Yeah, not a showcase or something.
Yeah, cabaret. Some people referred to it as, like Murray's girlfriend's band. It was a Twisted Hip. Twisted Mind is more like it. But so I went and auditioned, and there was a drummer, the guy that invited me, and Curly was the guitar player's name. He had real kinky hair, super curly,
That's
and he
awesome.
styled it in a big pompadour and stuff. But
Nice.
if he washed it and just let it hang down, it was down to his shoulders. But he'd use all
Dang.
that hairspray and everything and get it. He looked like a greaser, from what was that band called that Gonzo was, or the guy with the big nose, and they did the 50s stuff and dressed like the 50s.
Yes.
Bowser was the singer's name with the big
Yep.
nose, and that was he'd
Yep.
stick his profile out there like Jimmy Durante, but that kind of hairstyle, and it would just all pack up in there because it was so damn curly and use a lot of hairspray. So he'd look very clean cut and everything, but
The man's beehive.
he came by my house one time, just out of the blue, and his hair was hanging. He wore a wool cap, and it's all real curly, hanging out from it. I didn't recognize him at first, but I recognized his truck. I go out there, and he says, "Hey, man, you want to go shooting?" And that was something we did in the foothills around where we lived. Lots of people did it. Just go out plinking. We weren't hunting or anything. Shooting tin cans. And he's laughing away and carrying on. We get out there in the foothills and hop out, and he says, "You ever shot a Thompson submachine gun?" And I go, "No." And he puts the seat forward, pulls one out. "Want to?" It was fully automatic, man.
Just my arm.
Shot
Holy crap.
45,
It
crazy.
shot 45s.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they shoot with. the same round that went into the pistol. It was the exact same round was used in the Thompson submachine gun. I mean, that's a lot of lead. I was watching a thing, like the rifle they talk about all the time now,
AR.
AR-15, is just a 22 with a lot more oomph behind it, but it's a 22 caliber round, which amazes me.
Then the 30-06 is what?
Well, that's the measurement right there. It's inches, not inches. It's about like a 308.
That's what I was saying. I mean, it makes quite a
Yeah,
punch.
yeah.
Therefore,
The
without too
carbine,
much being mentioned on the LCK thing,
the carbine I have is a
makes you
308.
kind of wonder. You what?
Bought it. So the one I've got is a 308. AR I have, or AR style. It's a Panther Arms carbine, actual name of it. But it's like a AR-10, which is popular sniper because of the range. The AR-15 is for a person, that practices regularly or whatever. 5, 6, 700 yard range, as far as accuracy goes and all that. Whereas AR-10 with the 308 is 1,000 yards, 1,200, 1,400, so a lot greater distance. And you feel it when you shoot it, although it isn't real bad. It's that gas operated, so that absorbs a lot of the kick as opposed to bolt action.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I went to the audition. Curly told me to hang out after the drummer and the bass player left. And Curly said that, what I'm really looking for is a bass player. And I don't like that guy that's playing in the band now. He says he won't buy a bass. He plays mine all the time. And he says, "Can you play bass?" And I said, "Well, that's what I started on." And he goes, "Okay." Gets out a record, hands me the bass, turns on the amp, gets out a record, puts it on BB King. And he says, "Can you play that kind of bass line?" And I'm listening. I started playing along with it. It isn't really too hard. And he says, "You want to be the bass player?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Will you buy your own bass guitar?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "You're in." So I played with him, I think, for about 2 years. And he started going off the deep end, staying awake too long, I think. And the band disintegrated. I mean, it was a bar band, not real loud, had to play top 40 music,
Right.
small joints, but it paid better than I could make working a day job. Of course, it was more hours, 6 nights a week. But
But
when
doing
that
something you
fell,
enjoy, right?
when that fell apart, and I was having all the problems with my marriage, and uh, we were pretty much hadn't been living together, split up. So I decided I wanted to. This chick was from New Orleans, and she was looking for somebody to give her a ride back to New Orleans. The hippie days. And I go, "Well, I'd like to learn how to play some jazz. New Orleans sounds good." So me and her and this other guy, I had a 57 Ford station wagon. I had my amps in the back, all our clothes. Guy rode in the back, and me and the chick in the front seat, and we headed off. Had a whole bunch of acid. We're tripping along. It's dark, and we get into Arizona, and they had these lights along the freeway, big like halogen lights or whatever. And we start going, man, there sure are a lot of bugs. And we're driving, man, what kind of bugs are these? So we pulled over and stopped, and it was snowing. So anyway, we
And
were
the
having
snow
a
is
real
talking
good
to you.
we were having a real good time. But ended up in New Orleans, and as soon as we got there, I think we were there 2 days, and the chick, we moved in with her sister, and it was cool for us to stay there till we, so a couple days to get some work or something and get a room. Everything was cool, and then just you need to leave and just leave. Now, we didn't know anybody, anything like that. I was going down to the French Quarter. Well, Bill would go with me, but he really wasn't. I think he was just freaked out that I'd get a gig playing for dinner or something like that
Yeah.
here and there, and sleeping in my car. He called his dad for some money to take the bus back to California. And I was walking around one day and collecting uh, Coke bottles so I could get the deposit on them so I could put gas in my car so I'd go down to the French Quarter, get some food in my gut, and maybe, land a gig with somebody. And this guy that I had met at a party, I think the second night we were there, was walking down the street. And he says, "Didn't I meet you the other night?" And I go, "Yeah, I remember you." He says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to find pop bottles to turn in, get the deposit on so I can get some gas in my car so I can go down the French Quarter and see if I can get some work." And he goes, "You got a car?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Man," he says, "I'll pay you to take me to Atlanta to get some pot and come back." And I said, "What?" And he says, "I need to get to Atlanta. I know a guy there that sells pot a lot cheaper than we can buy it here. And I've got the money. I just needed somebody to drive and so I can go get it, bring it back." And he says, "I'll pay all your expenses and give you some extra money and all of this." So I said, "Hell yeah." He says, "Well,
Hop in.
we got to pick this other guy up." And we go over to this guy's house and walk in, and we knocked, and he said, "Come in." He's got the radio listening to frickin' horse races. He's taking calls on the phone and writing stuff down, and people are placing bets. He's running a bookie thing that is his brother-in-law's, but his sister and him had gone to the store to go grocery shopping, so he sits in when,
Man in the fort.
yeah. So we're sitting there and we're smoking hash and cracking up over the races and stuff because this guy Harry was funny as shit. He was probably 25 years old, and I was 19. Um, the other dude, Richie, I think he was about 22. But we all had long hair. Me and Harry had beards, earrings. We all had earrings. And at that time, that was late 69. That was the year Easy Rider came out. And here we are going to travel through the South. Now, I'd read books about what it was like in the South that I thought was about times of 100 years ago or something. And really what they were talking about now, or, like the Jim Crow years and that kind of stuff. Before civil rights, I read that book, and it was called Black Like Me. And it was about a guy that had got his skin pigment darkened, and he had naturally super curly hair, and he passed himself off as black and went to the South and documented his experiences, wrote a book about it.
Wow.
Very interesting, because he didn't believe that people were really treating other people like what he was reading about. He was from,
Yeah,
I
things
think
were
he was
still
from
that bad.
somewhere in Ohio or something like that. Yeah, he got treated just like what he was trying to be. He got the shit beat out of him many times, but ended up being a professor. I think that's one of the things he was doing was research for his thesis.
That's a
Why
really
he
good way to be able to teach something, to live it like that and be like, okay, yeah, not only do I know, but I really know
They
because
even
I
made a movie
experienced.
about it. They made a movie about that book. So anyway, the first place we stopped at to get gas was like a truck stop thing, but it had a family-like restaurant there too. And we get gas and drive over and park in front of the restaurant and hop out. And we go walking up to the door, and this gal comes running over and she grabs hold of the doors. You ain't coming in here. Get around to the back. And I'm like, what? You heard me, get around to the back. And Harry started laughing. He says, come on, man. So we start walking. I go, what the hell is going on here? And he says, evidently they don't like hippies.
Now, I was gonna say, you damn long hair. That's what it was.
And I said, well, what is this go around the back? Are we going to get the shit beat out of us or something?
It's a barber.
And he says, no, we got to eat where the blacks eat. And so we go around, there's a door, and it's a room that's about, I don't know, 15 by 15. Couple of wooden tables and chairs. The menu's written on the wall and the price. And there's a hole between the wall and the cook. I mean, between you and through the wall, between you and the cook. Tell him what you want, and he fixes it, and you pay. And you can eat there or you can leave.
But
So
don't complain.
I'm going, what the fuck's up with this? And he says, just the way it is, man. Does it bother you? Oh, well, not really, but I think it's kind of weird. The second truck stop we stopped at, they hopped out and went over there, and this trucker that was gassing up his truck, fueling it up, he says, those boys ought not go over there.
Talking about your friends?
So I finished gassing up, pulled over there, I went in, and they're sitting off to one side, and there's this bar, and all these obviously redneck people whispering to each other and looking at us. And, play that guitar, boy. Where'd you go?
Dog hit the camera.
Muttley. Sure. Dude is back, man.
Oh, welcome back, Jack.
This is called Dude 2.
The
Lebowski
Love
brothers.
it. Love it.
Oh, man, it's cold out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd let the dog out, and as soon as she went out, she wanted to come right back in.
I couldn't believe Dixie laid out there for about 2 hours this afternoon. And I'd
Must
go
have
out there and
been
ask her if
by
she
some kind
wanted
of
to come
wind
in.
barrier.
Well, she was in direct sunlight. And
Oh, yeah.
the sun heats up that stucco.
Right on. That'll do it.
Well, man, I covered
right.
a lot of territory there.
Dude, I
There are
love
lots
this.
There's lots
This
of
is perfect. This is
lots of
perfect, man.
stuff that goes in there that
Yeah, we can always hit back on other times.
yeah. It's like when I started drinking, when I started, I didn't smoke pot until I take that back. I didn't smoke it fairly regularly until I was probably 19 years old. Before that, it would be if I was at a party and somebody's passing a joint around, but that's a whole nother phase.
Right. Another side story from the story.
Right.
So getting back to what we were talking about then was you coming to Georgia and
how I ended up
reading up on what you thought the South.
A synopsis of how I ended up in Georgia.
Right.
But yeah, we were on our trip from Mississippi. I think we were in Alabama, and we were having to get gas again, and went into that truck stop there. And when Richie and Harry hopped out to go in and get something to eat, I mean, those guys ate. It had only been a couple hours since we ate and had to go around back. But there wasn't any around back in this joint. I don't think any blacks stopped there.
Yeah. So it's like you're not even coming in. Long
So,
hair or dark skin.
oh yeah, and they were all staring at us and whispering to each other. And I forget what the guy's name, Big somebody, Big Jim or Big Bill or something like that. Keep hearing that. Yeah, he ain't gonna like this kind of shit.
It was like
But,
someone who like supposedly ran the place or something.
or hung out there. Or it was
I got
obviously a bunch of people that knew each other. That was probably their hangout at night. You
you.
know,
Right. It was their
barflies,
roadhouse.
barflies. You ever see that movie,
Mm-hmm.
Barfly?
Yeah.
Faye Dunaway, Mickey Rourke. That
Yep.
was a good movie, man.
Oh yeah,
Told
absolutely.
it like it is.
Yep.
Mickey ought to know. That poor guy, I think I heard he was broke again. No place to go. So anyway, um, everything went all right there. We were eating, just about done, and all of a sudden we hear the door slam open. It was like a screen door, and there wasn't any air conditioning in this joint. So it whapped against the thing, and this guy about had to duck a little bit to come in the frickin' door like a damn gorilla. I mean, this dude was huge. Richie popped up about a foot off his chair when he saw the guy. I mean, it was like he was sitting on a spring and it got released all of a sudden. He was a little bitty guy. So anyway, we got out of there all right. You know, we rapidly finished up and let's get the fuck out of here. Left a tip and all of that good stuff. And when we were coming in to Atlanta, I believe it was on 78. I'm not sure, but I remember the sun was coming up and we had come over this like hills, foothills or whatever, and starting to go downhill into Atlanta. And here I see this fucking bright blue spaceship in the skyline of Atlanta. And it was that restaurant. What is it? The Hyatt or
Oh, the
Marriott?
sundial.
Yeah,
That's
I
at
think it's still there,
yeah, the
but
restaurant
everything.
that turns.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
that was
sundial.
there when I came to Atlanta. And that's what it
Yeah.
looked like, was a fucking spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
I got so groggy on the
Well,
drive.
you were also on acid too, right?
Well, not then, not
But
that
oh,
time.
okay.
This was on our way from California to New Orleans.
Oh, okay. So now this is New Orleans to Atlanta
Yeah,
for
we
weed.
got kicked out of
Whole different drug.
Texarkana, escorted out.
Nice.
Pulled
From
it,
Texas or Arkansas?
I believe it was Arkansas. Pulled into this check-in. You could drive through like at a bank and check into the hotel. And we were there and gave her the credit card and all of this. And she's looking at us and wants my ID. And I didn't have it. This chick that I'd stayed with for a week or something threw my frickin' wallet in the back bay at Balboa in the frickin' mud, along with
But
my
you were
class
innocent, of
ring.
course, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. So anyway, all of a sudden there's a cop car pulls in front of us and one in back of us. And they're talking to us, and we just told them the truth. We were coming from California. We're on our way to New Orleans and probably going to stay down there through Mardi Gras at least. And They're talking to each other, and they said, well, I think you ought to just keep on going down to New Orleans. Oh, okay, whatever. So we
So
leave,
not
and
the droid you're looking for.
they're following us, and we get to the edge of town, and things are starting to get less business stuff. And I saw we needed gas, and the cops, I thought they had turned off or whatever, just followed us a little ways to make sure we were going to head that way. And all of a sudden, there they are again, in front of us and back of us. I'm filling up the car with gas, and he says, okay, as soon as you're done, you're going to follow us back to the police station. Well, Billy had a bunch of tabs of acid rolled up in some aluminum foil stuck up in his mouth between his cheek and gum. And they're talking to him, and he's mumbling. He told us later that it felt like it was trying to fall out when he was talking. Speak up, boy. So they took us to the cop shop, and they actually put us in a frickin' cell. We're going to check up on you. And I don't know what the hell they were doing, but after about 20, 30 minutes, I said, okay, you head on to New Orleans. Don't stop. Yes, sir. So that was a little added attraction there. We don't like your kind. So
Can't sit here.
we get to Atlanta, and we go to this flea bag hotel, rooms by the day or whatever. Or you could rent it for the week.
Not the hour or the minute.
Probably. So we got us a room for 4. There were 3 of us, so that was, went to sleep for a while, got up, started walking around. We were looking for what they called the Strip back then. And it was an area between 10th and 14th Street and Piedmont and...
Highlands?
No, Peachtree, the other side, towards 75.
Oh, okay.
Not Spring Street.
So like Varsity side.
West Peachtree Street.
Yeah.
West Peachtree. So Piedmont and West Peachtree going this way, and 10th and 14th Street going that way.
Yeah.
That was basically the district. Now, prior to that, that was before I got there, the hippies were hanging out downtown. And the merchants were complaining.
No, wait, is that the same spot where they had Music Midtown before they built all that stuff? I'm saying later after your area, but that whole open
Piedmont
area.
Piedmont Park.
Because that
is where they had Music Midtown.
Yeah, but they used to have it up on Peachtree as well. And it's right by the MARTA station and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like right off of West Peachtree and Peachtree, but then years and years later, they built all these skyscrapers.
The one I went to was like 5 or 6 stages at Piedmont Park. I don't know what year that was, though. I only went to one.
It might have been a dream. I might have just made it all up in my mind. No, I just remember getting in trouble for jumping a fence. That's another story for another time.
So, okay, how we supposed to find this guy, Richie? Because Harry had his money and Richie had his money. Richie goes, well, all I know about him is his name's Sean, and he hangs out at Chili Dog Charlie's. And Harry looks at him and says, what? And he says, I don't know what his last name is. And Harry's like, don't tell me you don't know what he looks like either. And he says, no, I know what he looks like. Turned out he didn't. But Richie was a hustler.
Someone drew his face.
He sounded like he was from the Bronx. more than like he was from New Orleans, but I think there's a section in New Orleans where they do sound like New Yorkers with their accent. So anyway, he was hustling this. Now there's a story for the next trip from New Orleans to Atlanta that is interesting too, that has to do with his accent. But
That'll be in part 2, folks.
so we asked around where the strip is, and so they told us, and it was a couple blocks away, so we didn't bother driving. We just walking around checking things out, and all of a sudden we started seeing hippies here and there, and then a bunch of them, and sure enough, there was this place called Chili Dog Charlie's, a little hole in the wall that sold hot dogs and hamburgers and shit like that. No chairs to sit or anything. It had a counter you could stand at and eat. It was that little. But place is fucking packed and everybody was selling drugs. I mean, you walk down between people, hash, acid, pot. Unbelievable. Reminded me of how Laguna Beach was back in that era. It was just like that. You'd be walking down the street and walk by somebody and they go, hash, coke, heroin, not even look at you.
And again,
just
everyone watching, this is before the word fentanyl came into play. Therefore, it was a much safer time. So
yes.
these
Brown
stories
heroin
are, again, from the past, and how lucky we are to be able to, again, escape into the future. But a whole different world. But carry on, brother.
So we, started talking to people and stuff. This guy, Sean, he has some really good pot. Oh, yeah, I know him. Well, you know where he lives? No, but he hangs out around here. Tell us if you see him. So we ended up going to these chicks' apartment to smoke some hash, and they knew who Sean was, but I was going somewhere with that. Oh, but he showed up at their place while we were there.
Nice. Like, not only do we know who he is, he just walked through the door.
Yeah. So we got to meet quite a few people. We hung out for, I don't know, probably a week. And there was this group of people that were all living in this apartment that seems like it had 3 bedrooms and a living room and a kitchen and a bathroom. But it was in an older house. I guess it was an apartment house of its era, but it was old 4th Street, Ponce de Leon, what was the cross street? Towards Piedmont Park.
Yeah.
But there was about, I don't know, 6, 7 people staying there. And the leader of the group, his name was Steve, and he was really something else. He thought he was some kind of god or something. He was the real thing.
Then start a following.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! Inadvertently, but
yeah,
he was a trip. So he told me and Richie, because we were heading back to New Orleans, sell that pot, and then we wanted.
Oh, so you were just picking it up there. It wasn't to move here or anything. It was just to pick it up and take it back to New Orleans. Get rid of it.
Steve we had said that we wanted to come back, and Steve says, well, you guys can move in here. It'd be fine. Come on back. And so we went there, sold the shit, came back. And that was the second trip from New Orleans, but Harry didn't come back with us. Just me and Richie. So on the way there,
because he knew you probably weren't coming back again.
On the way there, the car started running for some reason exceptionally well. And we're cruising along, and I said, man, I can't believe how good this thing's running all of a sudden. And then all of a sudden, bam, oil light comes on. Oh, so this was Christmas night, okay? Because Richie knew all the people to hit that would be getting money for Christmas. So we just made the rounds and got rid of that shit quick. So, so there we are. There ain't hardly any traffic on the road, and it's not very warm, out in the middle of nowhere. And so all of a sudden, this big Lincoln pulls up, and this guy asks us what the problem was. There's a guy and his wife and his teenage daughter was in the back seat, pretty good looking too. And we told him what the issue was, that the engine quit and it's ain't going to start. And so he says, well, I know these guys that are open up the road here, and they can help you out. They're mechanics and have a towing service. And I mean, talk about luck, because
Or the
that
lead
place
to a
is,
horror movie.
oh, no shit. So to make a
But
long
yes,
story,
luck on this one.
short, we talked to the guys about our dilemma and everything, and Richie, being the hustler he was, he asked them if they wanted to buy the car. And they wanted to know how much for it. Because, it was pretty cool, 57 Ford. It was a station wagon, but it was stylish, had a V8 in it. So Richie says, well, here's the deal. We don't have the paperwork for it. That's in Atlanta, but we're going to be making a trip back through here in about a month, and we'll bring you the paperwork for it if you give us a ride in our gear to the bus station and buy us bus tickets to Atlanta and give us $75. And they said, deal. So that was the rest of our trip. Oh, yeah, when we got in the
Nice.
Lincoln with the guy and his family, he adjusts his mirror and he's looking at me and Richie's sitting next to the daughter. And where are you boys from? Richie says, I'm from New Orleans. I said, I'm from California. Where are you going? Atlanta. Good. And that's all he said. Keep on going. Don't stop here. I'm a nice guy, but I ain't that nice.
Oh, jeez.
So we get to,
So
I
like
could
4
not
foot
believe
high
this.
by.
Yep. And this guy in a checker cab put those in the trunk of that cab. I could not believe they fit, along with our clothes and shit. Everything went into the trunk. And I was like, how big is this sucker?
Right.
But
With
we
good
get over there
suspension.
to the apartment, and my cabinets were on wheels. So we unload everything and pay the cab driver, and I start pushing cabinet up to the apartment, and doors open. So I'm wheeling it in, and there's this chick sitting there talking to a guy well, the first thing I noticed was badge, blue shirt, and his security dude that lived upstairs. And this chick's talking to him, and she looks at me and says, hey, what you doing? And I said, or she goes, well, who are you? And I said, well, I'm Kenny. So she says, what are you doing? And I said, well, we were here a few days ago, and Steve said it was all right if we moved in, so here we are. And she's like, what? This is my motherfucking apartment. It ain't his. She was sick and was staying at her parents' house when we were there. And Steve and her were kind of together, but not really. So she got all pissed at him, but she went ahead and was cool about it and said, "Yeah, it's all right." Da da
So
da.
are y'all pitching in? Okay.
And ended up, she ended up being my second wife.
Of
It
course.
there. Shall we end it there for today?
Oh, that's great.
So California surfer type hippie, moved to Atlanta and became a hippie redneck, or a redneck hippie.
That's just chapter A. Because I'm not
Yep.
going to say 1 because we might get to, there's no telling how many numbers. So we'll just say A and we'll go through the alphabet. But it's chapter A because I know you got a lot more to bring and a lot more that's within those stories. But
Yeah.
that's a good thing because those stories are, again, they're what define us, you know?
Yeah, we'll be getting into the alcoholism.
Yeah. And the things that came from,
Oh, yeah.
again, like I was saying, the drug experiences, just like I've got mine that I'll share. And it's a whole different world now. And that
Oh,
has
yeah.
to do with other things as far as, different. It's weird to put it this way, but say different hands get put into the pots and they start mixing bad ingredients like a baker would do. And if a baker is baking a cake, it's like, oh, this is how I make it. It may make you so happy, it tastes so good, it may make you sick. But either way, I'm the one making it. I'm responsible. But then here comes some other people. It's like, oh, add this seasoning. It'll make it extra sweet. This will make it
Right.
give that little spicy kick, whatever. But those happen to be fentanyl or other little, even, in vapes like vitamin E, things like that people throw
Right.
into stuff.
How'd you like
Regardless of
them
their
gummies?
intention, it's usually for money value to get
Uh,
something that is at one price made cheaper. So it's some kind of cut or something that gets put in there that makes it to where you can't trust things like you used to. And
right.
that's what makes me scared for kids and for the future because I know from my experience, and mine still is dated closer from yours, that I still got really lucky that the times I did experiment, it was still pretty much what I knew I was taking. I knew what
Right.
the effect was going to be. But nowadays, you have no clue. It's
I wouldn't
scary.
buy
And these kids out
any
there trying
illegal.
anything is
I wouldn't buy
insane.
any illegal drugs other than pot, man.
Yeah, it's a whole different world out there. So in this segment, even though we weren't able to get through all the good stuff, this leads into the next chapter of it that we'll get into the benefits that became from all the learning experiences. But if there's one thing to take away from this is kids, don't do drugs. They're not like they used to be. Not saying, of course, there's the good and bad factor, but who are we to judge? Because we were young and stupid at some point, and
Exactly.
we did. And kids out there, they're going to be young and stupid. But if only there's a way to implement into their brain that the world is different now. It's not like it used to be in so many different ways. But in one major factor that relates to teenagers, and now a freaking 12-year-old is just like what a freaking 17-year-old was back in the day because of the internet, the things they're exposed to. Then friends have stuff that they get at school or whatever. My God, if you say anything to these kids, is don't try it. It's not worth it. The fun that we might
Honesty.
have had out of out of what you're getting told that drug is that you're taking still isn't worth what you're about to try. And it could drop you in an instant because it's not what you think it is. You don't know who the suppliers are. They're not as minuscule as they used to be. Back in the days when, getting acid or getting pot or whatever, you pretty much knew the source it was coming from. Nowadays, there's no clue. And that's freaking scary because the only thing that you're hearing about is what you hear on the news. And what you hear on the news is a fraction of what's going on. We know that, But I don't know. I mean, that's my little bit out of it. What do you got?
Well,
One thing you could say to kids today, what would it be? There's one thing that you could say to the kids today, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be the only thing. Just one of many things you would say. There's so many.
Try to learn
honesty and humility. Know that you can't do everything. You can't perfect everything. You can screw up. It's going to happen. You will screw up.
Like
but
I tell my grandkids.
Be honest with yourself. That's the main thing. That'll make you honest with others. But first, you got to be honest with yourself. Exactly.
I'm totally.
I think that's maybe the nail on the head is maybe it's looking at it different of not what we can teach them to do, but what we can teach them to not do. And it's not in the saying, hey, don't do this, like our parents told us. It's, hey, don't do this, because here's my story. Here's how it worked out for me. And know what? I got lucky.
And that's about
I got
the only
real
thing you can.
freaking lucky. Yeah. Be honest. Yeah. Seeing, so this is what a victim feels like. All the times they cried victim beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And then realized, wait a second. I had a good life. I just wanted to make myself a victim.
Right.
I wanted to because it was the cool thing to do. I wanted to say how horrible things were. And then, there's this little thing called, well, I'm not going to say little. It's this huge thing called God, our creator, that goes up there and says, well, you think you're a victim now. Let's see how this feels. Yep. He does have a sense of humor, and it may be light, it may be dark. I don't know, but there's definitely a sense of humor there because at some of the things that freaking slap me in the face, I'm like, okay, I get it. Ha ha. Good job. You got me.
Right.
But I don't know. Well, Kenny, I appreciate coming on here, and I know that's a lot to just kind of spill out there, but I'm sure it feels good just getting to tell it. And I know there's a lot more to tell, and I look forward to part 2. But thanks for joining me today and starting this part A of this podcast series. And we'll do the next one the next day or so.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
Thank you all for joining. Everybody have a great night. I think